Hello, I'm Pam Carruthers of healingstars.com, and today it's the day of a full moon, 5th of June 2020, and it's 2012 when a pulse lunar eclipse occurs. We have started the eclipse season, and what happens is we have a lunar eclipse today. The solar eclipse is on the 21st of June, just literally hours after the summer solstice. And then we have another, again, it's called a pulse. It's not a major, but it's still significant. Another lunar eclipse on July the 5th. Eclipses always bring change. Lunar eclipses, that change, that degree of the zodiac, which is 15 degrees, if you can see the chart here, is only active for 1 month. It's often you see the result pretty immediately. On the contrary, the solar eclipse lasts basically 6 months. And our last solar eclipse happened to be last year on Boxing Day. Now, I've set this chart for London, and also I've set it using the actual house system of Placidus. So here we have Sagittarius over here on the left. This is the horizon. So the moon is below the horizon. That means this lunar eclipse is not going to be visible in the UK. Here's the sun over here and Venus together. And again, the sun is still shining. It's still daylight. This lunar eclipse will be visible, though, in other parts of the world, a lot of the world. But also, notice in the UK, it's not actually affecting us. Most of us, hopefully, you've seen a lunar eclipse, and it is quite a magical experience because the moon goes blood red, and it does last for about 45 minutes. A solar eclipse only lasts about 4 or 5 minutes. It's very brief. So that shows some of the power of these eclipses. If your birthday is today, yesterday, day after, then this is very important for you. Eclipses bring change. Often we don't know what that change will be as astrologers. And of course, I've mentioned it before, no one could have predicted the coronavirus. What is so dramatic about this full moon lunar eclipse is the significance of Mars. That's why I wanted to show you this very carefully to see, look, there's Mars at the exact same degree as the sun and the moon, 15 degrees. Mars is the planet of war. It's the red planet, literally, it is a red planet. And even so, today is Friday, the day of Venus. Mars is very close to Neptune, as hopefully you can see that. Here's Mars at 1552, Neptune at 2052. So Mars is moving fairly fast right now and will be joining Neptune. Mars and Neptune is we can't really see what's going on. Neptune is to do with illusion. It's like a fog or a mist. We really don't know. We can't make sense of what is happening at the moment, of course, in the US of A. We also have the nodes of the moon have changed sign. So here is the north node up here in Gemini, the south node in Sagittarius. And this is the beginning of an 18-month, roughly, cycle of the nodes going through Gemini and Sagittarius. And the nodes are basically the relationship of the sun, the moon, and the earth. They are shadow planets. They don't actually exist. They're not planets. And the nodes of the moon go backwards through the zodiac. Now, we have, looking at that north node, it's governed by Mercury at this eclipse. The south node, in turn, is governed in Sagittarius by Jupiter. So throughout the cycle of 18 months, we will always be noticing at certain times, especially at eclipses, where is Mercury, where is Jupiter. So first of all, Mercury is now in the sign of Cancer. Now Mercury is the messenger planet. It's been through Gemini, its own sign, but now it's in the sign of the moon. So communication is emotional. There are very high emotions at this time, both from the lockdown, in the UK, they talk about everyone's got to wear a face mask when they go outside. Liberties, there's a strong protest about freedom. Mercury is in a good relationship to Uranus, the planet of change. This is it here going through the sign of Taurus. You can see that little dotted blue line. That's a good relationship. And of course, what the protests, and they're not just limited to the US, are all about change and the wake-up call of how Black Lives Matter, how we all matter, and to attack someone just because of the colour of their skin is like, really, in this day and age? I find it appalling. I'm sure you would agree with me. Now, change is not what we like as human beings. There is another very important process going on. If you notice the nodes of the moon, the little green dotted lines across here, and they are connected, that North Node, if you look at the chart down here, to both Jupiter and Saturn. That is what is known as the letting go aspect. Jupiter currently in Capricorn is not in its best sign, to say the least. So the North Node wants now in Gemini to be curious, to be open-minded, a willingness to listen and to heal rigid opinions and heal self-righteousness. That's the shadow of Sagittarius. It's I'm right, you're wrong. And that always creates a fight. It has to. And the win-lose situation, the loser will always try and get revenge in some way or other. Now, this is personal for you if you do have planets. Obviously, if you're going through a return of the nodes of the moon, that's very significant for you. And it's a roughly, as I said, roughly 18-year orbit. But also, of course, if you have a planet at 15 degrees. The other very important, it's a big chart this to look at. Venus is now retrograde. Venus is now invisible and therefore has not got much strength in the sign of Gemini, full stop. But also when it reappears, because it will reappear as a morning star, and that's not a long time, it's only invisible for a couple of weeks now, is also the morning star is known to be quite fierce. More of that later. We hope and pray. Prayer is a really important. Neptune, Mars is Pisces. This is prayer. This is connecting on a high level with Source, with the God or Goddess, whatever belief you have, even if it's a belief in gravity, whatever it is that rather than be caught in the anger of Mars, be caught in the higher vision, or rather reach for the higher vision at this time. I'm taking a deep breath. It does feel very much a precarious situation I think we are all undergoing at this time. And once Mars passes by Neptune, here we will get a respite. And I do believe that the solar eclipse is a really powerful turning point for us all. I'll be talking a bit more about that later. So thank you for watching. Pam Carruthers of HealingStars.com.